Hi guys, Sarah here. So today I'm going to be doing a corn snake Q&A, but before that I would like to announce that we have hit 600 subscribers. Thank you very much for subscribing and for being here to go on this journey with me. I really appreciate it. I wouldn't be doing this without you guys. I did promise that I'd be doing a mask giveaway once we hit 600 subscribers. So if you commented saying that you'd like to be entered in the drawing, your name is in the hat. And I'm going to be pulling a name out of the hat to announce the winner. And the winner is this name right here. Oops. I don't know if I can pronounce that. It is Kiro Mahotsuki, maybe? I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but if that's you, go ahead and send me a message on either Instagram or Facebook, or send me an email. I'll have all that in the description down below, and we can get you set up with a mask. Thank you very much for submitting your name to this. I really appreciate it. Anybody else who submitted, don't worry, you will have a chance in the future to win something. I don't know if it'll be a mask in the future or if it'll be something else, but as we continue to grow in subscribers, as the community grows here, I will be doing more and more giveaways. So if you'd like to be eligible to win something, go ahead and subscribe. I do corn snake videos. I try to do them weekly now. I was kind of doing them either a lot or not very much before, and I figured right now I'm at a really good balance of about once a week. So I'm going to be doing corn snake Q&As and genetics videos like this whole mess back here. I'll be doing a video on very soon. And of course, I also have the very popular morph videos that I do a lot, the morph deep dives. Those seem to be your guys' favorite, and I think that that's because that information just isn't really out on YouTube anywhere right now. Is like going over the details of different corn snake morphs. So like I said, if you are interested in that stuff and you'd like to see more of it, please subscribe. That's what I'm here for. I'm also here to answer any of your questions. I've been trying to answer a lot of questions in the comments lately too, so I'm here for you to help you, and it also helps me because for one, I have something to do on a Saturday afternoon, and I just really enjoy making these videos for you guys. I really enjoy this has become a secondary hobby for me. Obviously, corn snakes themselves are like my biggest, most favorite hobby ever. But then this is sort of a like subset of that where since I don't have as big of a collection now as I used to, it doesn't take as much time as it used to. Now I can do the fun things that I really enjoy like on top of that. Of course, I enjoy my snakes, but I also really enjoy doing these genetics things. I really enjoy doing like the videos. I like doing this stuff for you guys. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and answer the questions. Now, these questions were all submitted to me on Facebook. I have had other questions submitted to me on YouTube, and I will occasionally answer those in videos, but these were all Facebook questions. I take a lot of questions in the group called Corn Snake Husbandry Help. That's one of my groups that I made. So if that's a kind of group that you'd like to join, feel free to do that. It's like I said, it's on Facebook. I don't want to say there's a lot of different people, but we specifically focus on husbandry in there. So when I say husbandry, I don't necessarily mean like breeding. I just mean breeding and care and other things like that. And then I also have corn snake morph ID help if you guys have questions with morphs of your corn snakes. So I've kind of separated those two. So anyway, on to the questions. The first question was, I lost my baby corn snake. How do I find it? And other than the obvious just look for it answer, which a lot of times corn snakes can hide really, really well, between books, in a bookcase, sometimes even like in a book somehow. Like they find a way to get into every crack and crevice possible. Sometimes they're just hiding really well in their enclosure, like especially if you have a lot of decorations in there. I've had corn snakes get lost in like those little decorations that you might see for like a fish tank. They find a way to crawl their way up there, and they get in there so deep that you can't figure out how to get them out. But assuming that you know for sure that they are not in their enclosure and you've looked all over like the general area that they are, here's some other tips that you can try. The one that has helped me the most, I think that I've always found a baby this way if I couldn't find it the other ways, and that is tape traps. And tape traps, you need to get either masking tape or painter's tape. Painter's tape is very similar to masking tape. They're both kind of sticky, but not like really, really sticky. You don't want anything that's stickier than those. And you get like about 1 foot strips, give or take, and you put them sticky side up on the floor along the like walls of the room that the snake got out in, or maybe like adjacent rooms that are very close. And you don't have to put it like all along the walls. just like every 10 feet or so. I'm gonna say 5 to 10 feet maybe. And then if you still can't find your snake that way, there's a few other things that you can do to maybe lure them out. One of those things, if the snake is a really good feeder, you could leave, a thawed pinky mouse out or something like that. I've had some people have luck with just putting out like a heat source of some kind. So like putting maybe a heat light that shines on the ground a few feet up from the ground, and see if they will go under the heat light, especially if maybe you put a hide there as well. So it's warm, but it's also dark, so they have a place that they can hide. And again, a lot of this is going to be like up against the wall because baby snakes and a lot of other snakes are not going to necessarily want to be out in the middle of a room. They often will crawl along the walls because it seems more safe for them. So those are going to be like the main things is trying the tape traps, trying a heat source with a hide. You could maybe even try putting out a water bowl with the heat source and or hide. I actually have had before little water bowls that were for like hamsters and stuff that kind of had this little dome area underneath them where you could put water in the top, but underneath there was a place that a snake could actually hide. And I used to use those all the time for my baby snakes, back before I switched away from plastic. I didn't really want to keep doing reusable plastic for bacteria issues, but that's a whole other thing. I'm not going to get into that right now. It's just a lot easier to use like porcelain and stuff like that because of the any bacteria that can move. Like when you have a lot of snakes like I do, you just want to keep things as clean as possible. But regardless, if you only have one pet snake and you're trying to find it, maybe getting one of those little water bowls would actually be a good thing because it's both a water bowl and a hide for the snake. So the snake's going to know that there's water there. It's going to know that there's a hide there. And if you also have a heat source there, it's going to be really gravitated toward that area. So that's a possibility. If you do get a snake loose or have a snake get loose that's a little bit older, snakes actually really would rather be in their enclosures to hide, especially during the day, if they can get to it. So, because that area, that's their scent is in there. That's what they know. That is their territory. And a lot of times snakes they can't figure out how to get back up on top of the bookshelf or whatever else their enclosure's on. They fall off of whatever that is or crawl off of whatever it is, and they can't figure out how to get back. So you could take the enclosure and put it on the ground and maybe even put it on its side. You may have to like rearrange some things, but just so that snake's scent is in that area so that they can like find their way back home. Snakes typically do have like a territory that they prefer to be in where they would probably go back to every night or so. I know a lot of people say that their corn snake sleeps in the exact same spot all the time, whether that spot is warm or cool, and that's typically because that's just where they feel the safest. That's their territory that they want to go back to. So especially if you have a slightly older snake, that is an option, is to getting their enclosure where they can actually find it again. So the next question, I'm going to go ahead and move on, is I just got a snake that was on large pinky mice, and I know a lot of people right now, especially, this is sort of the end of the summer, beginning of autumn, at least in the US. I just got a snake that's on large pinky mice, and I want to order from a bulk supplier. Should I go ahead and get 100 more pinky mice? And the questions that are included in that are, will they last very long? Will the snake outgrow them too quickly? Stuff like that. So assuming that whatever rodent supplier you're getting from has a bag, like only has bags of 100, personally, I would not get 100 more pinky mice unless you plan on getting another snake in the future. And when I say in the future, within the next year. I have used rodents that were in the freezer for a year or maybe a little bit more, but they can get freezer burned. If you're going to try to keep them for long periods of time, it's probably worth getting a vacuum sealer. I have a vacuum sealer I make my cat specialty cat food sometimes, and I like to freeze those in bags, and same thing with the rodents for the snakes, and I also use Reptilings for the snakes and sometimes even the cat. So those are really good to like have a vacuum sealer for, and I mean you'll also use it for your own food. But generally speaking, if you're only planning on having one snake and right now it's already on large pinky mice, it might just be more worthwhile to go ahead and buy 100 fuzzy mice, or maybe just like 100 peach fuzzy mice if those are an option. Peach fuzzies are like slightly smaller than like regular size fuzzies, but they're bigger than just large pinky mice. It might be worth it to just go ahead and move the snake up a food size instead of feeding them double. That was something else that was also mentioned in this question was, should I just feed this snake 2 pinky mice until those 100 pinky mice are gone? And I'm like, well, if you do that, you have a minimum of like 25 weeks of doing that, maybe more. Like that's a minimum. And when I say 25 weeks, that's assuming you're feeding the snake 2 times a week, 2 pinkies at a time. So you have at least 25 more weeks of doing that. And by that time, the snake should definitely be like over needing pinky mice. They should be on fuzzy mice by then. So my personal advice for that specific instance, which I'm sure that a lot of people are actually in that right now because a lot of baby snakes that hatched in 2020 are that size right now, just go ahead and move them up a size. It won't hurt them that much. And if you do have to go to the pet store for the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even the next month to get small pinky mice until they are a little bit bigger, it's going to be more worth it for you in the long run if you only plan on having one snake. If you plan on getting other snakes, then sure, go for it. Go ahead and get 100 pinkies and maybe also get 100 fuzzies at the same time. That way you'll have enough food for your current snake and the snake you plan to get in the future. The next question I'm going to go over, and this is probably going to be the last one. It was kind of a very weird question, I thought, because it's not something I'd ever heard of before. Someone asks, does decreasing the number of hides in the enclosure make my snake more friendly? And the answer is no. And the person who asked the question also was kind of baffled by this because they were told that if the enclosure had too many hides, that the snake was going to be less friendly or was going to learn how to, be mean or something. And the answer is no. I have actually a relatively minimalist approach to my enclosures. A lot of people don't really like that, but of course, when you have dozens of snakes to deal with, you typically don't furnish all of them with a whole lot of different hides and stuff. So if you just have one hide, that's not going to make them mean or anything like that. If you have a nice snake, they're gonna be nice if they have 1 hide or 10 hides. That's just how the snakes are. If you do have a snake that's mean, or if a snake, especially a baby snake, I don't want to say this for adult snakes because it's a little bit different. If you have a baby corn snake that's very nervous and not feeding very regularly, putting them in a slightly smaller enclosure with more hides might make them actually less timid because they're going to have a place where they feel safe and comfortable, where if they're, if they have a nervous personality, and you don't have a place for them to hide and feel rested, then that anxiety for them never really goes away. So having extra hides is actually better for nervous babies. Having a smaller enclosure is better for nervous babies. But as far as adults go, I'll kind of answer another question in here while I'm talking about this, which was, about at what age do I know what my snake's personality is going to be, as far as if they're going to be flighty or bitey or nervous or just a nice gentle snake that's nice to hold? About a year old. So if you have a snake that's over a year old and they're really nervous and really mean, it might be difficult, no matter how many hides are in their enclosure, to get them to be nice, to get them to be the pet that you want. But if they're under a year old, there's still time to work with them and get them calmed down. And like I said, I recommend, putting more hides in for a nervous baby and not less. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate you subscribing. And again, there will be more giveaways in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope you are. And yeah, like, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.